Howdy folks, I'm Nimble Nymphs, naturally navigating new neighborhoods.
I'm Amber.
And here are more new neighborhoods for us to navigate. We do it because we're explorers. We're exploring nymphs. Let's get started. Unless we're talking about new neighborhoods like NU.
No, that's not what we were talking about, but...
Because that would be C over lambda neighborhoods. Alright folks, and our first letter is titled, Am I a Jerk for Flipping My Boyfriend's Hypothetical About a Maid and Making Him Upset? I'm a 20-year-old female, and I have been dating my boyfriend, a 20-year-old male, for 2 years. Recently, he asked me a question out of nowhere. What would you do if in the future we had a German maid and she showed up wearing a tank top and tights? I was confused. I didn't really get what he was trying to ask. To make a point, I flipped the gender and I replied, why would I care what he wants to wear? If he wants to show up in a tank top or leggings, then he can. He could even show up shirtless for all I care. That really set him off. He said that he can't trust me around guys if I'm okay with them being shirtless, that he would rather hire a female maid, and if I don't have a problem with her outfit, he doesn't either, because at least he trusts himself not to look. But apparently, I'm obsessed with guys. He said that all he wanted to know was how I would feel if a female maid wore revealing clothes, and I wasn't answering the question. I tried to say, why would I have an issue with those clothes? And anyways, it's a hypothetical. So let's just say that we hire a male maid. But then he got triggered again saying that I was obsessed with guys and called me a jerk for not answering seriously. I honestly don't know if he was trying to make me insecure, test my jealousy, or something else. I wasn't trying to dismiss him, I just thought that it was such a weird question. I'm just very confused about the whole interaction, so am I the jerk for how I responded? Alright folks, what do you think?
No, not the jerk. I mean, I think it also may be worth, examining this relationship and what other double standards does he have. Oh, well, I trust myself not to look. No, dude, there's a reason why you're asking this question. You want to, either he could be trying to make OP jealous, or he could be trying to see what can I get away with? What will OP, how would OP feel about that?
There was no right answer here, right? I mean, this was basically a trap. No matter what OP said, it was never going to be right. If OP had been fine with it, then he would have brought home his hypothetical maid at some point in time in the near future. He may even be picking out a maid for them to have, right? And if this wasn't, if OP had said they were uncomfortable with it, then he would just be like, oh, you're just insecure and jealous and stuff like that, right? And I think OP handled this in a really good way by flipping it around and saying, well, I don't care what our male maid wears in the future, right? And he's accusing OP of not answering the question, but OP did answer the question, right? OP just didn't answer the question that he was necessarily that he articulated, right? I mean, this is like the monkey's paw type of thing, where if you don't make your wishes very carefully, then they can backfire on you, right? But I don't think that OP did anything wrong here. I think they just exposed the hypocrisy of his question, right? And with him being like, oh, OP is male, obsessed with men, right? Well, he keeps turning this about female maids, so why can't this be him obsessed about female maids, right?
Well, and he's the one who brought up the topic to begin with. So, I mean, I think, we're seeing his jealousy come out because he knows he's not trustworthy around women. And so he's flipping this, it's kind of like the cheater thing they do where they start getting paranoid their partner is going to cheat because they cheat. I get a feeling it's that type of situation. He feels like, a certain way about women. So obviously OP must be the same way about men.
Yeah. But let me know what you folks think. So anyhow, take care and good luck. Alright folks, and our next letter is titled, Am I a Jerk for Not Showing My Mom to My Boyfriend Half Naked? My boyfriend, a 24-year-old male, and I, an 18-year-old female, have been in a long-distance relationship for quite a while now. I live with my parents, and he lives in another country with his. We frequently have video calls, especially when I'm in my room. To keep things short, my mom walked into my room while I was on a video call with my boyfriend, and she was not wearing trousers because she was about to take a shower anyways and doesn't mind if I see her legs. She was not in the frame of my photos camera, so my boyfriend couldn't see her. She only came to say hi and briefly tell me about her morning as she went out horse riding for 3 hours. She didn't open the door all the way, but when I turned around, I did see her completely, which for me isn't a big deal. After all, women only wear panties in bikinis anyways, and I'm her daughter. However, my boyfriend sees it differently. He believes that he has a right to see whatever I see because when we are in a video call as a long-distance relationship couple, it's the equivalent of being in the same room in person. He thinks that it's rude of my mom to walk in wearing only a slightly oversized t-shirt and her underwear. So in order to teach her a lesson, I should turn my phone in a way so that he can see her as well. Usually I do turn my phone so that my mom can greet him as well, but I don't feel comfortable doing it when she's not dressed properly. Another example is when she comes home from work exhausted. She also doesn't want to be seen on the phone by him and says that she's not presentable right now. I told my mom to please wear appropriate clothing and to knock before entering my room, but she just kind of laughed it off. I also told my boyfriend to stop being indecent and that he shouldn't ask to see her when I already told him that she's not wearing pants, but he insists that he has the right to see the same thing as me in my home. He says that he should be treated like any other family member, and that if he's not, that means that he's not part of the family. And we obviously don't love or welcome him enough. My boyfriend has given me the cold shoulder for the past 7 hours now and refuses to call or do anything together. Usually we would watch TV shows while eating because mom might walk in half naked, even though I assured him that she was outside working. I feel like he's being petty and trying to punish me for not showing him my mom. But am I the jerk for refusing to show her to him in this case? All right, folks, what do you think?
No, absolutely not the jerk, OP. You made the right decision. Your mom did not agree to have him see her like that. And as much as he claims he's entitled to see what you see in your room, no, he is not. There is an expectation of privacy. Your mom assumed that she was not going to be in view of the camera.
Yeah.
And you should not break other people's trust and privacy just because your partner is demanding that you to be able to see your mom half naked.
She wants to teach OP's mom a lesson. That's one red flag. The second red flag is that they're 18 and 24 and they've been dating for some time now. What does that mean? That kind of comes across as almost grooming, right?
Well, this whole situation just smacks of control.
Yeah.
You know, the way he is now being, like Opie says, he is trying to punish her. He is punishing her for not doing what he said. I just get major creep vibes from this. Like, most people do not want to see their mother-in-law half naked. It would never be like, oh, I'm so upset that you didn't let me see your mom in her underwear.
I mean, it feels more like a voyeur thing where he's, wants to see her just because, like, he is, views her sexually or something like that. I think that's kind of at least the impression that I get, and I hope that's not the case. Maybe that's sincerely that he's just like a controlling person and wants to teach her a lesson, but
which isn't really any better.
Yeah, I mean, it's not better, but the whole situation just does not sit right with me. And there are people who will try to punish you by withholding their presence from you, and those kinds of individuals, the only way to fight back from them is to ignore when they do that, right? Because their presence isn't that much of a present to you, right? I mean, that isn't worth the struggle that they're going to play here, their power dynamic, right? They want to try and, make you beg them to come back and stuff like that. Oh, please, I'm so sorry. I really didn't mean to hurt you or something like that. When this is just a classic manipulation tactic that narcissists do, right? Like, they want everyone to just bow down to them and, beg for forgiveness and stuff like that. And OP doesn't have anything to beg for forgiveness here. They just told him no, right? And that there isn't anything wrong with saying no to somebody.
And so, I mean, OP, I would definitely seriously reconsider this relationship. It does not seem good or healthy.
Yeah. And I do actually want to say something that I read in the comments here. Basically, OP and the boyfriend have met up, but it's never been without the parents around. And the parents were pretty uncomfortable with the relationship at first, so it doesn't sound like they were super supportive of it. But it does sound like they were never allowed them to be alone together or anything like that. So I do think that that at least says something about the parents here. But I mean, I do think like it's a pretty um, off-putting type of relationship if he was dating a minor or something like that at the time, right? But that's just me. Maybe I'm wrong.
No, I don't think so.
But let me know what you folks think. So anyhow, take care and good luck. All right, folks, and our next letter is titled, Am I a Jerk for Being Insensitive About Menstruation? When my wife, a 35-year-old female, and I, a 39-year-old male, got up this morning, she said that her period underwear that she had worn to bed had filled up, and that as she was getting up, a few drops of blood had gotten on the quilt of the bed. I didn't criticize her or say anything, but she told me that I was making a face, and I do think that I was looking at her with frustration. She told me that I had very little sympathy. I took the quilt into the bathroom and I spot treated it, and I took our toddler downstairs for breakfast. When my wife came downstairs, I apologized for making a face. I calmly said that I was a little bit frustrated because this is a common occurrence. Blood on the sheets happens a few times a year. She also leaves blood on the toilet seat at least once almost every time that she has her period, and often multiple times. Her response is that I was still wrong, menstruating is hard, and I could be more supportive. We could even imagine in a world where I chip in by being the one to clean up after her, which, although I didn't point out, is happening already some, since I do clean the blood off the toilet seat without mentioning it, although I disagree with her. I didn't want this to escalate into an actual fight, so I asked to end the discussion, which we did. Then we went about our morning. None of this is a big deal, so maybe I shouldn't be pushing it, but I do feel a little ridiculous for how far apart our perspectives are. My wife is, she acknowledges, bad when she feels criticized, and I think that this is one of those times. Is this really even a question? On the other hand, I do think that my wife is bad at taking criticism, so maybe I'm seeing that here when in fact I'm being a jerk. I am, generally speaking, less empathetic than average, although I think that I'm still reasonably caring. Maybe this just doesn't matter, so I shouldn't be bothered. Blood does come out and wipe up. Plus, I am aware that as a guy, I'm on shaky ground on this topic. 3 more extenuating factors. 1, our toddler is a lot and hard for both of us, although he wasn't doing anything at that moment. 2, my wife was hurting from an unrelated physical injury. 3, of course, is that she's uncomfortable from her period. Reddit, I understand that getting a period is no joy. There's no red tent here. When she's looking uncomfortable, I try to offer Advil or tea or foot rubs. Heck, even accidents happen. If this were once or twice, I think that I would be perfectly understanding, collected adult about it. But this is kind of common, and all I did was make a face. Isn't the reasonable response to getting bodily fluids in a shared space just to say, sorry, I'll clean it up? She's had more than 20 years of practice. Am I off base in my understanding of how often this happens to adult women? I will accept the judgment you give, and I will apologize again if I should. So am I the jerk? All right, folks, what do you think?
Yeah, OP, I think you are being the jerk here. People don't have any way to control the flow, and especially while you're sleeping, you can put on the heaviest like pad imaginable and things may still go south. It is not at all uncommon for people who've had period for many, many, many years to still bleed through, sometimes like every cycle.
So I think that OP is kind of not even really, they say like, oh, this is happening frequently, right? I mean, once or twice a year, if she bleeds on the bed, that's not frequently, right? That is just a level of accidental. So this isn't like every day for every single time she has her period, she's bleeding out on everything, right? She's not like free bleeding everywhere, right? And I think that that has to be said here. I don't think that OP understands that that's not that big of a deal. And as for like the blood on the toilet seat, while I do think that she should try to make an effort to clean it up if she sees it, like accidents happen and people miss things, right? And sure, as a partnership, you should be getting each other's backs and stuff like that. So, sometimes we make involuntary reflexes, and maybe OP made a face and they didn't mean to, right? And that's just sometimes the way people are. And I think like this may be one of those situations where OP might have been making a face, and if they were sincerely didn't mean to, I can't really hold that against them. But I understand the wife's frustration too. And for him to come out later and be like, well, I'm sorry, you should have a better hold on this.
Well, that's the thing. That's where I think he really goes into jerks territory,
Yeah.
where like, again, like, yeah, sometimes your face does make involuntary, you do have involuntary reactions. But to be like, well, you should have better control over this by now, when it's literally something that people cannot control.
Yeah. I think she was doing the best that she could. And OP is holding this against them when they shouldn't be. And I really think that's really where this boils down to. So I do think that OP is in the wrong here and should apologize. But let me know what you folks think. So anyhow, take care and good luck. Alright folks, and our next letter is titled, Today I Messed Up by Ratting Out My Mom to Greek Customs When I Was 9. This happened when I was 9, but it has never left my brain. My mom took me on a Mediterranean cruise, and one of the stops was Greece to visit family. My great aunt gifted us some homemade olives, just a little bag in brine. Totally harmless, or so I thought. Customs for cruise passengers usually felt pretty relaxed in my memory. If you're not dragging a giant luggage around, it's just day trip stuff. Mom and I had breezed through before without issue. So when the officer asked, anything to declare, plants, animals, food, local products, my mom smiled and said, nope. This is when my 9-year-old autistic self, unable to lie or keep quiet, loudly added, but Mom, what about the olives? Instant mood shift. The officer perks up. Suddenly, we aren't harmless tourists anymore. We are possible smugglers. We get pulled aside, bags open, question asked, and my mom is scrambling to play it off as a silly mistake. And because I could not stop there, I also announced that we had fruit sticks. To me, it was candy, but saying fruit sticks made it sound like smuggled produce. My mom had to fish them out and show that they were just candy before the officers relaxed. I recall the customs agents being really kind despite being a bit tense, even laughing when I offered to eat the olives so that we wouldn't get in trouble. Eventually they waved us through, but it felt like forever. And to this day, my mom still teases me about being the world's worst partner in crime. All right, folks, what do you think?
I mean, it's a funny story. It's unfortunate. Opie does say in the comments they couldn't keep the olives, so R.I.P. the poor olives. But it's a fun story.
Yeah, I mean, part of the reason why they do these kinds of things are because of bugs or because of pests and stuff like that that can get transported. But I would say like pickled olives are probably not in that category of something that is actually probably dangerous. But I'm not like a ecologist or anything like that. So what do I know, right? So I mean, maybe there is a precedent to be actually concerned about this. It is unfortunate, but I mean, it's a funny story, and I'm glad they can laugh about it.
Yes, and the comments are full of funny other stories if you need a good laugh.
And Princess Crayfish says, my mom likes to tell the story of the time that she took me, 3-year-old, into the USA to go shopping. On our way home, the Border Patrol asked, do you have anything to declare? I quickly piped up from the back seat with a loud, I got new shoes, before kicking them together to make them light up. Apparently the agent waved us through while looking like he was trying not to laugh. I declare that my shoes are awesome, Witty Lock says. And A22E says, not quite the same, but your story reminded me of something that happened when I was quite young. One time my dad was pulled over for speeding. Being young, I misunderstood how traffic stops worked. So, when my dad pulled out his wallet to get his ID, I assumed that he was paying for the ticket on the spot. Then, a few months later, my mom was pulled over, and while the officer was at the window, I said something like, Mom, why don't you just do what Daddy does and give the cop some money so he goes away? Not a good thing to say. All right, folks, it is tea time. Grab your beverages of choice. I've got some tea right here. And Amber, she has a joke.
What did the vampire say to their annoying friend?
Blah, blah, blah. I'm going to suck your blood because you're annoying.
You're driving me batty. And it's Bat Appreciation Month.
Ooh.
And it's also Domestic Violence Awareness Month.
It is.
And so Brian and I will be doing a fundraiser for Partners for Peace, one of our local domestic violence resource centers. And we can probably post a link about them in the description. And yeah.
Yeah. And I have a licorice spice. All right, folks, that's all the time we have for today. Thank you so much for watching. Happy Friday, Junior, folks.
Happy Friday, Junior.
Thanks so much to Amber for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
Amber, we need some kind of moral advice and or guidance, and please have it a hodgepodge for a hodgepodge Thursday.
Don't be a hypocrite, and don't take small children on your smuggling operations.
Yeah, I guess so. That's some advice. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you all tomorrow.
Bye.